Welcome everybody to another RWD gaming video. Tonight we are going to be diving back into the Uradiss for a one-shot called the Uradiss Contract Griffon. We have four excellent players here with me tonight. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I have the luxury of playing with the most of them in a game run on Connor's channel, so we'll start with Connor.
Hello, as Baron said, I'm Connor. Most of these lovely people, actually all of these lovely people have played on my channel before. You can go over there and check out those games at Versatile Diecaster. But today I'm playing a Taboo, a Wood Elf Hunter Ranger whose mom and sister were killed by some mysterious creature that he doesn't know what it is.
Perfect. I have a sense of urgency. Next, we'll go over to Jose, because I know you have a channel.
Hey everybody, my name's Jose. I got the YouTube channel D20Z, and today I'm playing Everan, who's a half-elf cleric from a new priesthood nearby who they're trying to, help the town, like, get rid of whatever is troubling them and to make, like, a bigger name so they can expand more.
Excellent. Steve.
Hey everybody, I'm Steve. I have a YouTube, but it's not up and running yet. Super excited to play. I played with most of these guys before, so honored to be here again. I'm going to be playing Joran Steelsong. He is a high elf of Ariel that is third level blade singer. For some reason I couldn't formulate that word. So thanks for having me back, and I'm ready to go.
Excellent. And finally, Steve, or Kevin, not Steve.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me on, Baron. It's a pleasure to be here, certainly. Enjoyed playing in the game with you and Steve on Connor's channel the other day. I'm going to be playing Stark Sniper Wolf of Baron's Home. He's a Battlemaster fighter with the archery fighting style. His Baron has sent him to hunt down with other people something that's been troubling the local peasantry. Knowing my archery skills may come in handy with this. He's requested me to be assigned to this.
And assigned you have been. So, the country of Uradiss, for the most part, is fairly low marshy lands, some hilly areas. There's not a whole lot of mountainous region. There's occasional juts of stone that are hardly mountains by the rest of the world's standpoint, but to the Uradisians, they are about as close as they can get. And for a very long time, pre-human civilization, not necessarily human, pre-humanoid civilization, the Uradisian griffon was a dominant predator of the region, using the lowlands and the flatlands are prime hunting grounds. But with the expansion and use of technology, people have been able to kind of force these creatures back into the wilderness of monsters and unknown. Until recently. For the most part, the griffons you're aware of are domestic, rideable, agreeable even. Some are even playful, you could say. But that's not what we've seen. And in front of you is this pockmarked face, clean cut, shaven. He dons like a chainmail shirt. Maybe not chainmail. His chainmail's on a rack behind him. He's sitting in front of a desk. You see like the map of your Uradiss and like the locations and flagged with red markers where these attacks have taken place. We have reports that one of the Uradiss griffons has been sighted. These creatures are not like their domestic cousins. They feed on all kinds of meat, whether it be horse, goat, auroch, oxen. They'll even eat human. In fact, we have reason to believe it has. The town of Westmarch, which lies, you would all know, on the western side of Uradiss in a more densely forested region. Not necessarily forested. More, the vegetation is less sparse, really. 3 people have gone missing. An entire platoon of soldiers is also MIA. We've tried normal methods of monster removal, and it just doesn't seem to cut it. So we've put out a contract. I have reason to believe that is why the 4 of you stand before me. To hunt this beast. Do you have any questions of your query? Or how you are to get there? He kind of pushes some of the stuff away from him on the desk and leans back in his chair. You can see that, like, he has a large wound on his neck, scar rather, that kind of prevents, you would imagine, from any hair growing there, and maybe that's why he's clean cut. But go ahead.
The taboo stands there with his arms crossed, and he's just going to ask, how big is it, fully grown or juvenile?
We have reason to believe this is fully grown. Our scouts say it's easily 12 to 16 feet long, with 25 plus foot wingspan.
Have we narrowed down its hunting ground at all?
We had reason to believe that it had nested in a jagged outcropping of tall rocks northeast of Westmarsh. That is where the original killings had taken place. We had a couple reports of missing livestock that were found. Legs broken as if they were dropped from great heights, and mutilated, eaten.
Has there been a pattern to the livestock that have been taken?
We could tell it was they were getting comfortable. It started with small pets, dogs, chickens, and it progressively got larger, goats, and all the way to horses and oxen.
So it has an appetite.
I'm afraid it may have been more than that. If this creature was able to take out an entire scout regiment, rather, a scout regiment of soldiers, I don't know if it's just eating or if it's killing for sport.
It could also be that this beast might not be alone. It might have a mate or an offspring.
I think you may be correct. Unfortunately, none of the scouts made it back to tell us exactly what was out there. And unfortunately, we are kind of sparsely garrisoned at the moment, and I can't afford to send another scout regiment out there. I have gold, if that is what you wish.
You have my loyalty, my lord.
And I appreciate that, Sniper Wolf. I have a strong belief that your talents will come in good handy here. Is there anything else I can do for you to aid you on your quest to hunt this beast?
Is there any towns near where you guys think the beast is nested where we can gather around, maybe get more intel?
Yes. As far as I know, the teleportation stones can get you to Westmarsh by the end of the day. And from there, it's a roughly 12-hour trek northeast to the small town of Fang's Hollow. From there, it's a... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I would, once you finish, I would turn to our hunter and say, can you think of any traps we may buy some provisions before we set out? Nets, possibly, manacles, anything that may give us an edge if it comes to tying down, holding down this beast.
Anything with sufficient weight will keep it from flying too far, too fast. Might even stop it from flying altogether.
As you talk of buying provisions, he opens up a desk drawer, and you see like a brown sack with a knot in the top. He tosses it across the table to whoever is closest. Is 800 gold pieces. Buy with what you wish.
You require proof once the creature is dealt with.
And this whole time that he's been like sitting at this table, he's been writing casually and then pushing away and then writing it again. And you see that he's finally done, and he rolls it up and stamps it. He hands it to whoever's closest, or puts it next to the sack of coins. Yes, Steel Song, the Lord of the West Marsh region requires, oh, I guess the Lord of the West Marsh region is me, requires the head of the beast, as well as this contract for the final bit of payment.
Very well. We shall make sure that this creature no longer plagues the skies over Westmarch.
Excellent. Now, if you don't mind, and he pulls some more various paperwork out that he has.
I do have a question. If we are to find any like Griffon eggs or young, what do you want us to do with them?
He kind of looks up almost sternly. Want you to kill him. Smash the eggs. Kill the beasts. Bring me the head. You will get the rest of your payment.
Very well. Steel Song will bow at the waist to him and step forward and scoop the bag and the contract off of his desk and casually nod and bid him a good day.
Be careful, gentlemen. This beast is as dangerous as we think it is. It won't be easy.
We shall see it done, my lord. And Stark, Sniper Wolf, will put his hand, his fist to his heart and do a slight bow in a typical military salute. And then he would probably turn and walk out.
The taboo would leave without really much ceremony. He'd just turn and walk out, his equipment clanking as he goes.
So as the four of you leave this building, which is a brick and mortar building on the interior of the capital of Uradiss, known as Greenest, or not Greenest, Greenhearth. No, I don't remember what the name of this building city is. Greenhearth. The center point of this country. You are aware that there is a teleportation guild here. They allow you to pay a medial fee to get teleported to one of the 4 main locations here in Uradiss. There's a larger one, but that really won't be necessary. You are probably given some sort of like ticket or pass to get a free expedition out there since you're being contracted by the government. The city is a fairly populated town, not as bustling as the city of Eastport, but it's a farming community. There's a lot of like open air vendors, people bringing in livestock and farming implements, or various things from all over the city or country. So any kind of shopping you'd be able to do here.
Yeah. So again, I would probably suggest going to look for some maybe some nets of some sort, a couple of nets with some maybe fishing nets. If I know we might not be in a fishing community, but something that we can maybe use as a fishing nets with weights on the end. If it slows it down for some sort of time, gives us some advantage on some attacks, then that will certainly help. I'd also maybe ask the hunter if he knows of any poisons.
From what I know, any poison will work on the griffin just as well as it would on a similarly sized horse.
Anything you have in mind, poison-wise?
Something to kill or something to slow it down. Something where we can put it into a carcass of some baited meat, some baited oxen or something. I'd maybe ask some of the other group if they've got any other suggestions on how we can slow it down.
A paralytic, we got nets.
Are there any bola around? Like the rope with two weighted balls on either end?
Yeah, I'm sure you'd either be able to purchase or fashion them in relative ease.
I have 50 feet of rope. We could easily fashion something when we get there. And I'm not too concerned about this thing taking off. If it takes the wing, I can take the wing with it and distract it while you guys continue to rain devastation on it if need be.
Maybe some oils then, something that's flammable, that we can pour onto it and set it on fire. Some tar, and then some flame arrows or something.
Alchemist fire.
That was my next concern too. Is I think the best thing we can concern ourselves with now are healing pots and grenade-like weapons that, if we need to, we can pin this thing in somewhere with.
That sounds good for me.
I missed that last part. Can you say that again?
I'd say that we need to go somewhere to pick up half a dozen healing potions and probably half a dozen flasks of acid or alchemist fire.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So you are aware of various general stores in the city that would have most of what you need. I'm looking up poisons right this second to see if there's any specific ones that would apply. But if you guys can't think of anything else you would want to take, you guys can head to gather these various provisions without much difficulty.
Maybe a small wagon? Oh, that'd probably be too much.
Yeah, I doubt we'll need a wagon if we're going to take the teleportation stones. And if we do, we could always pick it up on the other end in West March.
Yeah, that's it. I would suggest getting it on the other end.
I would just suggest that we grab our personal effects and, whatever we need as far as combat before we hit this teleportation zone and get on the move, because I would recommend that we get to West March, take the night, and then leave at first light if it's a 12-hour march to the village.
Sounds good to me. I'm used to kind of marching and through the night or long distances, being from the army. So
Okay, so all around, I'm gonna say it probably cost you guys for the various implements you're purchasing around 250 gold. I don't know if any one particular person wants to keep track of it. I've just been kind of making a total so far. And I have you down for nets, rope. Well, you already have the rope. Nets, poison, oil, paralytic poisons, alchemist fire, potions, and acid.
yeah, I'll try and make a note of that. I'm keeping track of the GP if needs be, and I'll try and make a note of those.
I've got a note of it too, and if you want to go ahead and divvy things up as to who they can be most effective with, obviously the hunter's going to need most of the poisons, and then divvy up the potions. That way, if combat gets heavy and we can't get to each other, then you still got the option to make it out.
How many potions do you want to buy?
I figured we'd buy at least 4 of them. That gives everybody a potion to hold on to in case they get too low.
Yeah, I dig it. Okay. So it's about 10 o'clock in the morning right now. The process of maybe it's not 10 o'clock in the morning. Perhaps it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The process of activating the teleportation rings is a little bit slower when it's not as urgent. There's less mages on hand to do this, but this chamber or this building, they always appear to stand out wherever you go. They tend to be made of like a smooth stone with no breaks. It's like it's one giant stone building, clearly magical in creation. And they all have like wisps and swirls and various like curving markings carved into the walls and the floor. And someone give me an Arcana check, please. Doesn't matter if you're good or not.
An Arcana, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think my guy would even have any clue with it, so he probably won't even try.
That's 14.
So, Joran, you're aware that these markings are kind of inscribed in these stone buildings for the purpose of like amplifying the effects, maintaining the composure of the spells being used. With the advancements in technology and magic together, these kind of procedures are put into place because there have been a lot of trials and errors that have happened with the growth of technology. And these teleportation rings were not always the safest means of travel, especially when you show up in one spot and another part of you shows up somewhere else.
Without those sigils there, boys, it's a high chance that we'd be likely to get splinted on this jump.
Thankfully, through these trials and errors, the process has become a little bit more streamlined. So as you enter this building, you follow the corridor in, you see like small rooms jutting out from the sides. It kind of opens up into this large chamber that you see smaller alcoves and like other rooms and hallways leading out of this. But this is the teleportation room. The black smooth stone that makes up all of the building comes to an abrupt halt in a circle in the middle, as there's like a pale marble with a large rune in the middle. This is the arcane focus of the Teleportation Guild. The mages are kind of all affixed. Well, there's probably 5, and they're affixed around this circle. And the 4 of you take your place in the middle. And as they all kneel to touch their palms to the surface of the marble, you see a pale, from the pale marble stone, a faint purple glow starts to emanate, primarily from the runes. And you know, for those of you that have traveled via these stones, that as the magic builds, this stone will kind of appear to distort and fragment as you guys are kind of being pulled through the aether to the next teleportation stone. I need everyone to make a con save, please.
$21.
I got the same.
17.
I got a 16.
So all of you managed to keep the contents of your lunch down as you are teleported probably 120, 200 miles to the west. West March is a lot smaller than Greenest. Much fewer people and no large wall to protect it. But the folks here are about as disgruntled as everyone else in the kingdom. They're hardy. You can tell they're very lithe. They're very hard muscle. You can tell that they work every day for what they have, compared to some of the plumper merchants that sit atop piles of gold back in Greenhearth. Is anybody from this area that they? So Itabu is from West March area.
I would say it's probably local to where the Lord took me on, where we just started from.
Okay. So, Itabu, have you ever been to West Marsh, or are you just from the area?
I'm probably from the area, but I've never been in the town itself.
Okay. So, for some of you, this is, for most of you, if not all of you, this region is, you can tell there's a little bit more water in the air. It's not humid. It's probably, early fall, late summer. It's not humid, but there is a moisture in the air. And like even as you're walking, you can feel the squish of the path as your boots kind of sink into the freshly rained on mud. And it's getting to be, it's the process of warming up the teleportation stone and getting ripped through the ether. It's not instantaneous. So from the time you left at around 4, it's probably closer to 7 or 8 now.
It takes Yoren a few minutes to get his bearings again. That part of travel by teleportation always kind of disjoins him a little bit. Once I notice my boots sinking into the mud, I'm going to beat my wings to lift myself a few inches off the ground to keep the road dust and the mud off of my boots. Seeing as what time it is, I'm going to recommend to everybody that we make our way into West March and take the night before we head out.
I would agree with that. We don't want to be caught out in the open in case it's come this far and is plaguing this far. So we need to travel during the day to make sure we've all got our senses about us. And Stark wouldn't really care about the mud. Again, he's been on long marches. He's been in the trenches as such. He's been in the pit, on a battlefield. It's just part and parcel of everyday life.
Yeah, we don't need anybody or anything sneaking up on us.
There is a large building kind of offset from the center of town to like one side of like the village or city square. And this building you see has like multiple chimneys coming off of it. Clear distinction of an inn. A beat up sign hangs from 2 lengths of chain. You can tell that this has been outside for a long time because it's fucking rusted as hell. The sign says the Hag's Cauldron. And this is the inn/tavern establishment here in Westmarch.
I would suggest to everyone that we have a big meal tonight and fill our stomachs as best as we can tonight. And maybe we might partake in a few drinks as well. As you know, this might be our last night of comfort until our task is achieved.
I got to ask this question a lot last week, but what's everybody drinking? Ale, wine, mead?
Ale.
I was just having water.
Doran's traveled quite a bit. He tends to go for whatever the barman recommends. The barman usually knows his stock best.
Yeah, Ryan would just look at the person sitting next to him and just order the same thing because he probably doesn't really drink much, being a cleric and everything.
The local brew is called they call it Donkey Hoof Ale. The guy who brews it locally, he claims that he has a special ingredient. No one really wants to press him any farther, knowing that it's named the Donkey Hoof Ale. But it's tasty. It's got a citrusy aroma and a hell of a kick, but it's smooth, and it pairs well with pheasant, which is what is being roasted tonight.
Line me up for both and keep them coming.
Yeah, I would be partaking in 2 or 3 of these also, knowing it will probably give me a good night's sleep with a good meal.
And it 100% does. The barmaid, you see, she's got. It's fitting that she works here. She practically looks like a fucking witch herself. She's got a big wart on her nose, hooked nose. You can see that her hair is starting to gray. It's tied back. She's kind of wearing a stained apron. She serves you all night. The food is about as good as you can get for this far west. The ale is delicious by most standards, and you are able to get those good victuals in you before your trek tomorrow. And the 4 of you are able to buy accommodations for probably a few silvers. So that's really no issue either. You are able to fall asleep peacefully. Who would be the first to wake?
That would most likely be me, considering that I only need a 4-hour trance. So I would most likely be the first one up.
The cavalry would either wake up at the same time or closely follow it. He is also able to do the trance.
So by the time the other 2 get up, we'll most likely be in the common room at the end.
Jose, what race was Everan?
Half elf.
Half elf. Okay. And Kevin, before I get too far ahead, what is your armor class and your passive perception, please?
My armor class is 15 or 17 if I'm using a shield.
Okay.
And then my passive perception is 14.
Perfect. Thank you. So as the 2 of you wake and kind of wait for your companions to wake up shortly thereafter, and it's safe to assume that no one here is really that long of a sleeper, I guess is how I would say it. You're all kind of used to the early mornings of hunting game. You see,
Yeah,
as you... Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was going to say, yeah, I've got a a military discipline. So if we're used to getting up early, then I would certainly be used to getting up early also.
You all managed to do so before the bell ringer has a chance to even ring the bells for the town. You see the sun cresting over the hills that kind of outlay on the edge of town. I guess you don't see the sun. You see the bright spot behind the clouds where the sun is, 'cause it's overcast. It's not raining, but there's some mist in the lower parts of town, and you could probably expect some drizzle on your way, which is not unheard of in this area for this time. You guys said you wanted to get a cart. Is that still the plan, or would you rather just get some horses?
I don't think we would need a cart unless we needed it to transport the tools and stuff that we just brought. But I imagine we can probably do that on our persons. So, yeah, I'd be happy with getting horses.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I assumed as well. So, 4 horses, probably. Actually, there's rules for this somewhere.
I actually don't need a horse.
Yeah, you can fly.
And as far as a wagon or anything, the only thing I was thinking we would need a wagon or anything for would be A, loot, or B, the head of this thing. But I think we should be able to fashion some sort of litter to drag it behind the horses.
The head, if this beast is somewhere in the neighborhood of 16 feet long, I would imagine its head is probably 2, maybe 3, maybe 2.5 feet long. I'm sorry, Kevin. I know you're not used to our shitty form of fucking measurement, so bear with me the best you can.
No, I'm good with feet. We still measure height. Well, I still measure height in feet as well. So.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I didn't think of it until just now.
No, it's fine.
So this
did we know if there was a village closer to the Griffin hunt itself, or where we're heading to?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The reports coming in were from a small hunting community known as Fang's Hollow. I will put that in the chat. This is a very small community. It's hardly a community as is. It's kind of like a bunch of hunters that all have kind of grouped their permanent camps in one location where their families would be, or any kind of pack animals that they have, small farms. For the most part, this is a hunter-gatherer society, especially farther out here away from the town. Maybe 30 people in the whole town. But it is a somewhere you can go to have a point of operation, if you will. And that was about a 6 hours ride from here.
Yeah, because I would probably suggest when we actually go after the Griffin itself, leaving the horses behind and travelling on foot to be a little bit more stealthy.
Probably not a bad idea. Griffins like the taste of horse meat, so that might attract some unwanted attention.
Not only that, but I think it'd be a good idea before we get in too close to where we think this thing might be living, or the area that it's been hunting, to get for lack of a better phrase, a bird's eye view of anywhere that there might be, a place where it's nesting.
And following purchasing 3 horses and loading up your gear, you set off into the sloshy, mudded path. By no means paved or of any kind. It's kind of just a hunter's trail, just as much as this is going to be a hunter's community. Probably just wide enough for a cart, a single cart. So the three of you are able to ride with very little difficulty, and Joran having no difficulty flying. For the most part, the weather stays the same throughout the day. It's overcast. It's not particularly chilly. There's not much of a breeze. Where you are, you kind of wind through the lower parts of these hills rather than walking over top of them. So you think that might be why there's not as much breeze, I guess. There is bushes with berries occasionally. There's a lot of shrubs, very thin trees, some birch, some rowan. You notice, actually, I would like everyone to give me a nature check and then a perception check.
My nature was 5 on the die. Is nature intelligence?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a 4 for my nature, and then my perception is not much better. My perception is 10.
Okay.
16 and 8.
I got a nature 6 and the other one's 11.
I got a nature 11, perception 15.
Hold on 1 second, guys. I got a phone call.
I was going to say I'd probably suggest us having some sort of plan of action while marching as well. So whoever's got the best perception probably be at the front, and then I would probably be at the rear of the trail sort of thing, and then I guess Jorin would be kind of scouting out to the sides, I imagine.
Despite what I just rolled, I do have a +6 to my perception.
Sorry about that. Tabu, you've walked paths like this for your whole life. You notice that this one is, you can see that it's kind of overgrown. Like a lot of people haven't been walking back between here. But you do notice that some of like the overgrown branches have been broken in like right angles where you would imagine a cart has been pulled through here. Relatively recently, that is.
Looks like they got a supply run in recently. As he kind of pull one of the broken branches off.
Can you tell which direction it was traveling?
It is traveling towards Fang's Hollow.
Can we tell what animals were pulling it?
With Connor or Atabu's checks, I'm gonna say yes. You can see that there are 2 like large mules pulling this cart. So should you come to meet him on the trail, it's probably gonna be a pain in the ass to get around him. But unfortunately, this is the main and only way of really getting there conveniently.
I would ask Jorin to maybe just head off in front and see if he could see him, possibly, or whoever's pulling this cart.
Copy that. And I'll take off. I'll stay within about 10 to 15 feet of the ground, and I'll just fly off straight down the trail.
So you do for, I'm going to say you guys have been traveling for probably, 4.5 hours now. As you do, you see a large creature looming over a large wooden, you would imagine, cart. It's kind of hard to see at this distance. That has been kind of fallen off, not really like a cliff, but it's fallen down a hill that this path like skirts around the side of. And so you're witnessing what you would imagine is the biggest fucking griffin you've ever seen in your life, eating very rapidly one of the mules.
I'd like to, as stealthily as possible, take up a covered position and pick my way back towards my companions, flitting hopefully from cover to cover.
It didn't seem like it had noticed you at all. It seems pretty preoccupied with stuffing its face, and you were kind of far off. You kind of just had the advantage because of the way this path is. You were looking down into like a marshy bowl where like a couple hills had met. So you go ahead and roll me stealth. I'm not looking for anything too high.
25.
Okay, yeah. So this thing doesn't even lift its head as you manage to skirt back to the party.
I will, I'll pick my way back to them, and I'll come to a land right probably 10, 15 feet in front of the horses, so that way they don't have to pull up fast or make any excessive noise. And I'll relay to them not only what I saw, but also the lay of the land as far as where this thing is positioned on the hill versus what it's eating versus how far down this hill goes, and so on.
And how far down this trail is this event now?
Probably about a half mile.
So I would suggest like spurring the horses a little bit, but not trying to make too much noise as we go. So we need to get there a little bit quicker, but maybe when we get 600 feet, something like that, we could probably jump off the horses and try and make our way stealthily. Possibly.
Sure.
And maybe lead the horses because we don't want the horses to get too far away from us, I guess.
This thing's in full feast mode. So if we bring these horses close to this thing, if they pick up on the scent of the blood from whatever this thing is eating, they're going to call out, and this thing's going to immediately think that it's got desert horse waiting for it. I think we'd be better off with you guys approaching it as stealthily as possible through the woods, and then maybe by chance either me coming over the tree line with a bolo or with one of these grenade-like weapons. We already know that the master wants this thing putting down. He doesn't want it kept or, anything like that. So I think we should just go in hard and fast, put this thing down as quickly as possible with as least chance for one of us to get hurt.
Well, again, I would say as soon as I get within range, I can start shooting this thing if you need its attention quickly, unless you want to wait to get into position before I shoot. But I want to be like 600 feet, 500 feet away from it when I can start firing.
That's fine. I just meant pick up or take up the positions where you'll feel comfortable, as to your character in the party. Take up whatever positions you feel comfortable, and then just all at once unload on this thing from air and land at the same time.
Yeah, as you guys are saying this, Aaron would be like praying on his horse, and then he would lift his hands, and you guys would start glowing, and that would be him casting 8 on all 3 of you guys. That's plus 5 HP.
So I'm going to tell you this before you. Is that you spell slots or is that a cantrip, Jose?
That's a spell.
Okay. So before you burn up spell slots, there is a piercing shriek that rips through the hills, and you see this mass. It's leaving. If it is satisfied what hunger it has, and it is flying back towards Fang's Hollow, the direction you're traveling.
Would I be able to throw Ebola at it?
It's a half mile away.
Yeah.
So the only reason you're even
over us.
What's that?
As
No,
it's gonna pass over us, or it's traveling with us.
It's traveling the way you're traveling, but much faster.
I would say, shall we go after it now? Wanting to kind of spur my horse and after it.
Yeah, that's my initial reaction too, is just to take off again. I don't want to let this thing out of our sight now that we have eyes on it.
Taboo's just gonna make his horse go as quickly as possible in the direction of Fang's Hollow.
And I would say to a Tabo or a Taboo, can you mark it or something? Can you mark it to track it?
I do have Hunter's Mark, but I don't think it reaches that far.
So
I was hoping to get closer.
Your horse is spurring down the trail. Can I get everyone to make an animal handling check, please?
Probably the only ranger you're ever going to see who doesn't have proficiency in this.
I got an 18.
I got 12.
15.
All right. I was waiting for Jordan, but he doesn't need to. So you're looking for a 10. You're all able to maintain control of your horses. They are professionally trained, so this wasn't a challenging task. It was more of maintaining their footing in the moist ground. As you roll up to the scene of the carriage that had fallen off the ledge, you see the bloody remains of the mules, kind of organs splayed and blood everywhere. You hear a cry, "Help! Is it gone? The monster! Please help!" It's like this.
Right, come down. Yeah, I would reach them, see if they're okay.
And it's. Can I have a. Nah, never mind. You're able to kind of worm your way back and forth down this hill. It's not steep, but it's probably at a good 60-degree incline.
I would stop with the cleric and maybe say to Joran and a Taboo to ride on to see if you can track it, and we'll catch up to you once we've helped this person.
Absolutely. So they spurred on down the path, and Stark and Everin, you managed to get down to this cart. You can see that it was like lots of bags of grain, maybe some dried meats, salted porks or salted meats of various kinds, some building supplies, some tools. The guy he's kind of a mousy looking dude. He's got big front teeth and a nose that sticks out of his face. His haircut isn't doing him any wonders, as it's kind of a bowl cut that really accentuates his massive ears. Oh, thank you. I thought that beast was going to eat me. Oh, man. It ain't loose here in the sea of... My God. I didn't think griffins got that big.
Are you all right?
I'm fine. Oh, man. My wife is going to kill me when she sees all this mess. This is the last of our gold. Spent it on supplies for the village.
There, my friend. We'll see if we can help you salvage what we can. But I would have my bow out and scanning the skies still, just in case this thing comes back. I don't think it will, but I'd still be prepared anyway.
So you're probably able to actually. Let me get some sort of check out of here. Let me get an survival roll from the two of you.
Much better with that one. That is a 18.
I got a 15.
Okay, so you're actually able to salvage a lot of this stuff. For the most part, there's like only maybe one bag of grain that got ripped on some of the building tools as the cart flipped. You can see that the cart is pretty much fucked. But you are able to kind of gather the supplies and divvy them up on your horses should you choose to take them. And this guy could probably walk next to you.
Yeah, I would say I'd probably jump off the horse if needs be and walk and lead the horse walking.
Oh man, thank you. I don't know how I could ever repay you. We are not doing very good back in the Hollow. I've been gone for a week. I had to come get supplies, sell off what furs and meats we had. I'm not much of a hunter myself. Good God, I've never seen the beast itself. I've only heard rumors. I can't thank you enough. If there's anything I can do for you, please do not hesitate.
We're just glad you're safe. Now we should head out before anything else happens.
So we're gonna go ahead and jump over to Stark. Did you want to say anything to this guy?
No, I was just going to say that I might say, well, we may need that favour if we can, but we're here to help.
Of course. And we're gonna flash over to Joran and Itabu. You guys are hauling ass. What's your fly speed, Joran?
30 feet.
Okay. So even with as hard as Itabu is pushing this horse and as fast as you're flying, this thing, with every wing beat, is covering insane amounts of ground. There is a spot where there's kind of like one of the higher hills of this trail that overlooks Fang's Hollow. It's kind of like a notable point along this trail for hunters because you can kind of see the whole community in one glimpse, if you will. You see this thing kind of take off right past it. And farther to the northeast, you see like the jagged outcroppings of rocks kind of become more prevalent. Probably not the one that it nested in, but you see kind of how the terrain shifts from these grassy hills to these hills topped with large boulders and jagged stones. But unfortunately, this thing is fucking out of here.
Do we get a beat on the direction it was headed?
Northeast.
I'm going to look down to the Tabu and signal that I'm going to go for a higher vantage to see if I can see where this thing is going, but that it's pulling away from us and there's no point in him killing himself or the horse. And I'm going to try to go up like 50 to 75 feet to see if I can see the general area that this thing is breaking into.
You see that these jagged stones and kind of hills litter the landscape for a far region. You've gotten close enough to the eastern or western border of the country, and you see the kind of large basin of water that borders the western side of the country. And from your knowledge, it also wraps around the top and eastern side as well, forming a peninsula. You see that it's flying away from this and more inland towards these rock outcroppings in the hills. At this point, it's getting really small, and it's getting towards the horizon as you can see it. And you see it dive down again, and from there you lose sight of it.
I'm just going to take note of the general direction, and as I see it flying, what with my knowledge of that 3D movement type and distance, I'm going to just make an educated guess that he was flying for a certain amount of time and make that mental point in my brain to reiterate to the rest of my group when we all reconvene.
And as both you, Tabu, did you have anything to add before
The Tabu, as Joran flew upwards, would ride to the hill that he'd be able to see the whole community from on top of, just see if anything had affected it.
You see a few wisps of smoke coming from the various huts that are made of stacked stone with thatch roofs. It's not busy by any means. They're, from here you can make out the small ant-like shapes of a couple humans. There's a couple that you're not sure if they're children or if they're halflings or small folk. But no one, it doesn't look in danger or in trouble. So with that, you guys probably wait for the rest of your party to catch up, which is a short time later. You hear them speaking before you can hear or see them as they kind of walk around one of the hills, talking to the man they saved with his inventory kind of stacked conveniently on the two horses that they ride. And shortly after that, you arrive in Fang's Hollow. It's probably about 11 o'clock. Honestly, you guys were probably up and at 'em, before dawn. So around 5 in my mind. Putting you here at roughly noon-ish.
Will there be somewhere for us to stay, to rest up?
You have been talking with this fellow. You know his name is Corvin. Corvin. Someone give me a last name, any word.
Dallas.
Corvin Dallas. And he and his wife have lived here in Fang's Hollow since he was born. His father was a hunter out here. He met his wife in town and brought her out here. She hates it. She even hates it more that she has to get left here while he goes to town to sell the goods so she can look after the stead. But his family was a lot larger growing up than he and his wife have. It's just them and their single daughter in this large hut. Sizable. I guess it's not really a hut. It's a livable, sized up for the four of you to rest there as well. It would be the least I could do for the help you gave me. You must stay with me. There is no inns in the Fang's Hollow. It would only be convenient for you.
Very well. We appreciate that very much. We'll try and be as little convenient as possible. But we'll definitely appreciate a roof over our heads and maybe a hot meal.
Absolutely. Yeah, the wife, she makes a good rabbit stew. Hopefully she's got something on cooking for us when we get there. And
You're very kind.
I think it's safe to say that I owe you my life, at the very least. Who knows what would have happened if you guys hadn't showed up and scared that monster away.
Tabu looks at the thatch roof and he says, I'll be up there for the night. Just watching for it.
Well, like I said, it is about midday.
Mhm.
So,
He's just letting them know.
yeah, fair enough. Corbin, shows you to his hut. You see that Fang's Hollow is not much larger than it appeared when you looked at it from the hilltop. Maybe 10 to 15 houses, with a well in the center. You see a lot of like tanning racks. There's a lot of like dressed game kind of hanging. There's kind of a smell of just blood in the air. Go ahead, Jordan.
I was just going to say, I'm going to pull out this contract that the Lord gave us and see if I can find in its contents the name of any of these people that, had people abducted or attacked. I'd like to get some more intel from the people in this town about what times they're seeing this thing most of the time. Whether or not it's generally coming from that northeastern direction that we saw it fly off, and, just basic information so that way I can kind of prepare for it.
You do see the name in Emil Stronggrasp.
I'll ask Mr. Dallas where I can find Anil.
Emil, he lives on the far side. Him and his, rest his soul, his wife, she was taken.
We're here to make sure that doesn't happen again. I'd like to have a conversation with Mr. Anil. Can you describe his farm to me?
It is. He kind of gives you some directions loosely, and you are able to make your way over there if you would like to.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the party and I'm going to explain to them what my intent is and let them know that I want to head over and talk to this guy.
So Emil is a dwarf, and you see a lot of the furnishings in his home are human-sized, which may strike you as odd, may not. He is a scruffy-looking guy. He's got long brown hair, unkempt. His beard is also shaggy and long. You can see that his eyes are kind of red and swollen from what you would imagine is some emotions being released over his deceased wife. He's wearing like a leather jerkin and breeches. You see like a yew longbow resting up against the house, and a quiver. You are, for all intents and purposes, in this guy's house. He's invited you in. Oh, come on and out of the damp.
Thank you, Emil.
He maybe even like pulls a kettle off of the stove and pours some tea or just clean water if that's what you choose.
I would absolutely partake in a cup of tea with him, and I would like to start off my side of the conversation with him by extending the Lord's condolences about his beloved and to let him know that the Lordship stands with him in this time of trouble and that we're here to take care of this pest upon Fang's Hollow. But I might need to ask him some questions that might bring up some sensitive emotions for him. But it's in the best interest of him and all the other townspeople to give me any information that he can possibly remember about the events.
And you see that, like, as you're talking, his eyes begin to water, and he kind of wipes them away. Like, yeah, that's the Lord. He's a good one. We haven't had one of his stature in a long time. That's for sure. So please, if you'd like to know what happened, Lydia and I, we go hunting. It's how we make our living. Elk, deer mostly, the occasional wolf, bear if we're lucky, or unlucky. You kind of look so forlorn to the side. We were on the path of a doe. We didn't have any meat to cook, so it was kind of important to get this deer. And as we were tracking it, I told Lydia to bank far off to the right. Maybe we could kind of ambush it as it came into the clearing. It was shortly thereafter that I heard the screech. We've been hearing rumors of the big griffon for a while, stealing livestock. Didn't put much thought into it. There's a lot of stuff that can kill the livestock in these woods, man. Not just a big monster. I'll never make that mistake again.
Amir, what time of day was it when you and your wife were stalking this doe?
It was little earlier than it is now, probably 9, 10 by the bell rings. We don't usually expect big monsters out, not in the day. This thing didn't have preference to come out at night. I heard her cry when I went to her. Seen the beast eating her. Shot at it. I think I hit it. I've seen some feathers puff into the air. But it just looked at me. Those eyes. Blood all over its face. I couldn't move. I couldn't go to her. To Lydia. And he starts to cry again.
Well, I'll reach inside of my cloak and pull out a square of cotton and hand it over to him and casually throw my hand on his shoulder and explain to him that the best he can do for her now is live the way she would want him to live and know that we will avenge her. And I'll thank him for his time. And as I get up to leave, I will slip a stack of 10 gold pieces out of the money from the Lord into his hand. And I'll say, I know this comes nothing close to the companionship your wife gave you, but we do know that you are a hunter, and not having your wife's added help to bring game this winter could be troublesome. So please take this as a gesture of kindness and know that the next token I bring you will be a feather from this thing after I avenge your wife.
You know, I can't lie, I haven't met too many elves in my day. Especially not one with wings. But you, sir, you got a good heart. A good soul. Really would have liked you. Thank you very much. I know I probably am not much help, but there's another hunter in town who claims to have found the bodies of a scout platoon. His name's Leopold Bismuth. He should be here in town, I think. Human, about your height, and looks over too stark. Red hair, freckles. You'll find him. Sticks out like a sore thumb, dumb bastard. I don't know how he manages to hunt anything.
That was certainly somewhere there that I wanted to go and inquire about. I'd probably have taken a tableau with me to try and get an idea of what game was around and where the best hunting spots were. I probably would have discussed it with one or two, like with the group at some point, about trying to get a large group of game together, maybe rounding them up and putting them in a pile as kind of a feeding ground for the griffin to try and attract it.
Can I get nature checks from everybody again, please? Actually, you can save that. I want to get through talking to Leopold first, and then we'll do nature. Sorry about that. So, Stark, you're able to find Leopold fairly easily. His curly red hair and his vibrant green eyes stick out amongst the browns that make up most of Fang's Hollow. He's also kind of in simply garbed, earthy tones, leather jerkin, breeches, boots, a long bow across his back. Well, what can I do for you?
Hail there,
Strange.
sir. Would you be Leopold by chance?
I am best hunter in Fang's Hollow, if I do say so myself.
And so I've heard. It's been pointed in my direction that you were the ones that found the escape platoon that went after the Griffon recently.
Aye, that I did. Ghastly sight. I sent a report to East West Marsh, but it's hard getting in and out of here quickly.
The Lord received your report, and he thanks you greatly. How many did you find in the scout platoon?
I found pieces of probably five scouts, I think. That's how many helmets I counted. I figured that was a good representation of the unit. I didn't do anything with the bodies. Smell of blood, and the carcasses. They say the griffons come for carrion too. They're not picky eaters. They'll eat it dead. I didn't want to be anywhere near there, to be honest. I can show you.
Just the direction would help, Phil. Or the direction and the distance should be helpful. And again, if you've seen this beast, this monstrosity around, anytime, can you tell us what time you have seen it, so we can get a picture of when its hunting times are?
Normally hear the cries at high sun, sometimes even into the late afternoon. It's quiet at night. At least I've been sleeping peacefully. Seems like it mainly does its hunting during the day, early, like mid morning, afternoon maybe.
And the direction of the scout platoon?
If you follow, and then there's like a few trails that kind of intersect here in town, and he points you to one kitty corner from you. If you follow this trail about 100 yards, and you'll see a smaller hunting trail marked by a large stone in the shape of an egg. We usually follow that up, crest the hill, get a lay of the land, see if we can see any game. It's about 20, 30 minutes walk from there. Get to the top of the hill, go north, 20, 30 minutes, you'll see the carnage that monster left. Good gods, those were good men, good soldiers. A new couple.
So we're looking at about an hour out from here.
Yeah, give or take. And he's looking over to the direction of like the stones where you've seen this thing live. That's where we told him that it was nesting. I seen it fly over there myself. That's where I told him to go. I thought they knew what they were doing.
And being a fine hunter as you are, you'll know all the best hunting spots in the area. We may be looking to gather maybe a large group of animals to kind of bait it. Where could we acquire such fine hunting?
For hunting grounds, there ain't nothing better than pushing game into the stones, really. It's kind of unfortunate that the Griffon has taken its home there. There's channels and there's spots where the stones meet and you can't get through. If you push some of the game there. It's usually a lot easier to shoot them when they're grouped together. But for the most part, once you get towards the stones, it becomes a lot less vegetated, clear ground. You could easily probably bait something at the bottom of a pit where the hills meet and be able to come at it from the top on both sides if you had some cover to not give yourselves away.
Okay, that's some valuable information we may be able to use there. I appreciate it and appreciate your time.
Absolutely. And what might not hurt, the village witch, we call her. Don't ever say that to her face. She'll be pissed. Actually, probably shouldn't reference this at all. Her name's Tamira. She's a medicine woman, really. She's been in the village for a long time, as long as I've known her. She has charms of some kind that are said to protect you. I don't know if you're very spiritual folk, and he kind of looks at the cleric. Nothing personal if it's not your cup of tea. But I hear she might have some more information about the Griffon that she could tell you. She says she's been here long enough to see the original Uradiss Griffons before they were pushed away. Old coot. He's always full of stories. But sorry I couldn't be more help. Be on my way then.
Thank you, sir.
Question.
Go ahead.
Would there be like any library type buildings in this town?
Library, no. The probably closest thing you'll get to any kind of collection of lore or information would be this Tamira character. It's kind of just a hunting community.
So the witch it is then?
It seems to be the railroad that I'm setting up for you.
Any extra form of protection Joran is with.
And it doesn't take you much time to find the hut that belongs to Tamira, the medicine woman. It's the only one that has like an odd smell that's not so much of like decaying blood. This is kind of like burning sage and various herbs, rosemary and lemon, and a lot of different smells. It actually might even smell good to some of you. Very overpowering, if anything.
It smells like home to Joran. The Silver Citadel always smelled of extremely fragrant herbs.
So yeah, you would probably find this very enticing, Joran. The inside of this building is very cluttered with like a lot of herbs, hanging herbs that are drying, like various alchemical components, some like shavings. You see like there's like a dresser that's full of fucking vials of various things. One of them's got like eyeballs in it or something. And this crooked old lady is sitting over a cauldron, kind of stirring, and very witch-like in appearance. Oh, greetings, come in, come in. You're the hunters that the Lord has sent. I've seen it in my mind's eye last night in my dreams. Come in, come in. I've got some stew here if you're hungry.
But then with that, hearing the whole like scene thing, he would go like, "Are you a seer?"
In the dreams, they come and they go. Sometimes I remember them, sometimes I don't. And at this, she's kind of like, everyone's very like communal here. You can see that she's made a lot of food, so it's probably not just her eating this. And there's lots of like dishes. So she poured you some food. It's like a leek and like pheasant kind of broth, some onions or something, carrots. So you've come to hunt the Griffon, if I am correct. So what do you bother an old woman for? I don't have any charms like the idiot Leopold keeps saying.
Well, any information is better than no information.
Information on the Griffon. Nasty beasts. Regal, really. I understand why so many noble houses use their image as a crest. It combines both the kings of the air and the kings of the land. Powerful predators. Voracious appetites. They'll eat anything. Alive or dead. They're like carrion birds. Black ones. Bigger. Meaner. When I was a little girl, we had a problem with one. The last one I seen in Uradiss in my life. There was some hunters like you that took up their task, and if I remember correctly, there's corpse kelp over in one of the ponds that are around here, and the four of you would actually know of this plant if you're from this region. It's like this seaweed that kind of grows really long and in clumps. And if you take it out of the water, it reeks of like rotting flesh. No one's really figured out why, especially since it like doesn't give off any kind of odor when it's in the water. Like the areas around the water doesn't stink unless it's like a lot of this plant has died and washed up on shore. There's like old wives' tales of this, like mounds of this fucking kelp washing up, and people believing that there was some sort of battle that had taken place because they were like ruined bodies. They put some of this in some of the carcasses that we had lying around and left it in the hillock. And I'll be damned, about 30 minutes later, that big griffin came back, started gobbling it up. We were able to take him down from there.
Well, that's some useful information indeed. Very, very useful information. Do you know of any herbs or sediments that we could use also?
Well, I know the buckwheat usually is pretty good at attracting things that like the smell of dead stuff, dead shit. They have terrific eyesight, so any kind of smoke or anything to blind it might be of use. It might scare it away if it can fly. I know that there's a kind of like what the fuck's it called? It's like ragweed, where if it touches you, it burns your skin. You can like inflame your eyes.
Poison ivy type stuff.
Yeah.
Poison ivy, poison oak, stinging nettle.
Yeah, something kind of in like the magical combination of all three. Like this is some nasty shit. You know, like druids are like, okay, you don't fuck with this plant because it's angry. It's an angry plant. You know, she tells you of a couple locations of that. You might be able to use that to poison it as well. Is there anything specific you're looking for, Stark?
No, it was just something that we could use to either kill it, poison it, kill it outright, or sedate it somewhat, slow its movements, make it sleepy, something to give us an advantage.
Righto. Yeah, there's this ragweed, kind of strong irritant. But now that you've kind of talked to this woman for a little while, you can tell that she's got like a mild tone of sophistication to her. Not so much that it's coming out in like her dialect or anything, but she's very intelligent. You see that she's probably the only person that's got books in town. And so she shows you pictures of whatever you're looking for. This ragweed and the corpse kelp. It's a shame. I know the Citadel would love to get their hands on this beast to test it. fuck with it, dissect it, but it's really
They're free to come out and do all that after it's dead. We ain't taking it nowhere though.
fair enough. I'm sure they'll get word of it sooner or later.
That they will.
And if you don't have any more questions for her, you are more than welcome to.
I do have one question. Do you know anything? If they have any weaknesses? Maybe like a blind side?
Well, and she'll actually kind of like get up from her chair, maybe walk over and pack a pipe of tobacco and start smoking it. Any creature that's a glutton as big as a griffin, well, it'll eat anything. I think that's an advantage enough. Mix some of this corpse weed with some of the ragweed. Corpse help with some of the ragweed. I'm sure it'll be nice enough set for you to maybe distracted enough for you to get the edge. I am actually going to pause here. We're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute break after talking to this chick. Do you have any more questions, I guess, before we do that? All good? Okay. So when we come back, you guys are going to be walking out to the location of the scout troop. So go ahead and use the bathroom, refill your drinks, whatever you got to do. We'll meet back here in 5 minutes.
Sound.
To anybody tuning in at a later date, certainly appreciate the view. Certainly having fun. This is a new type of quest that I've never really done as compared to a kind of A to B storyline. This is kind of a hunt, just bland. So we will be back and get right back into the fun. Alrighty, I am back. We got a couple people still missing, so give them some time.
So far, so good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having fun. Are you guys having fun?
Yeah, good start. It's building a good scenario. Building up our foe. Ready for hopefully an epic showdown.
See, I know I've told you I have put some serious beef on this monster, so I'm trying to give you guys as much opportunity to give yourself advantages to fight him, because he will be kind of a challenge. Challenge rating 5 as compared to the usual challenge rating 2 of the Griffon and the Monster Manual. He's got some nasty new abilities, but I have faith in my hunters.
Sorry about that. I totally walked away like an idiot and forgot to mute my microphone.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I'm actually going to smash some food real quick, so.
No, it's totally cool, man. I'm actually putting my kids to bed and they're calling mom and saying goodnight right now, so you timed it out perfectly.
So I think we've pretty much gathered all the information we can.
I agree, and I think it all generally seems to be along the same consensus that this thing's using the high sun to its advantage and striking at whatever it can, livestock or people, and it's, wreaking some havoc. So I think, again, that's probably the best thing we can do is bait this thing out into the open and then just unleash all hell on it.
Yeah, the fact that that patrol was taken out and it's on like an hour walk, or trek north, shows how close it is to the village. And even though it probably wouldn't directly attack the village at this moment in time, pretty soon its fear will probably abate and it will start coming after everyone. Especially if the game is best up by the rocks where it's like its nest is, then it might have killed all or most of the game up there, and that's what drove it south. How ravenous it is, and so it's going to become more and more desperate as it keeps killing things and its food supply keeps running out.
Well, I think that's part of the reason it's here. It's got a constant food supply with this village close by. It can hunt at its leisure.
We just need to find a way of getting close to it and sneaking up on it and making sure it doesn't find us. I'm thinking, can we get a taboo to fix us up some ghillie suits?
There's definitely a possibility of that happening.
Yeah, it might help. There might not be much shrub or anything to use, but even if it's just like dried grass together or something, but something that can take away its eyesight advantage. Again, I've taken the sharpshooter feat as the variant human. So and with a longbow, I can fire from quite a distance. So that'll be my plan, to kind of hide amongst the rocks a good distance away and shoot it from there, kind of like a sniper would do.
The taboo's going to do the opposite of that.
He's going to be like the hunter, like a panther or something like that, a giant cat.
I'm just here to make sure you all live to fight another day.
We'll be fine. I have cure wounds.
Hopefully, he's there to bless us.
Sorry about that. I had to just mow down some nachos real quick. So, The four of you are traveling north along the game trail pointed out to you by Leopold to the location of the scout regiment.
Yeah.
The directions were fairly simple. You're able to find the egg-shaped stone and follow it up to the top of the hill. And it's another half hour north from there. But you start to see the signs of this encounter before you actually get there. It seems as if this had attacked them kind of one by one, not really picking them off while they're. But you see, with the first scout and his horse kind of ripped apart. There's actually two of them here in the front. There's one more kind of like 50 feet back. And then the other two are a little bit farther. You see that they're running towards you, like the directions of the corpses, like the horses. For the most part, they look like they were heading this direction, towards the Fangs Hollow.
And again, I'm assuming we've kind of left our horses back at the village, tied up somewhere, and that we wanted to go and head out on foot to try and get a better stealth advantage.
Okay. Let me get a perception check from everybody.
$19.
Same.
16.
23.
You're able to find like the pulp remains, like severely decomposing remains of a second griffin head.
A second griffin head.
Are griffins usually cannibals?
Nope. If you want to roll me a nature check, I could probably give you some information about the behavioral patterns of griffins. But it's a huge fucking head. Probably maybe a bit smaller than the ones you guys have seen. But Joran, you're kind of poking at it a little bit, and taking into account like the size of its beak and if it's got any like crest plumage. This is female. You are aware that griffins usually mate for life. So more often than not, when you see one griffin, there's probably a second one somewhere near here. That probably didn't come to your thought before, simply because, you know, these are monsters. They're not the griffins, you know.
I would like to actively be kind of checking the sky, checking the surroundings. Again, like I'm not a good survivalist. Other people do that when I've been in armies and stuff like that. So for me, I'm on guard. I'm looking to the skies around. I'm letting the ranger and those who are more nature based do the looking and the scouting and investigating.
Well, gentlemen, it seems that the scouting party must have gotten their hands on the female of this mated pair, which would actually explain why this thing has been so much more aggressive lately too. Probably a good idea to take this thing out as quickly as possible. I can tell you from personal experience that the Citadel has a extensive library when it comes to griffin behavior, and these things are usually mated for life, and they usually do go through like a almost a grief type period where they're extremely unruly. So I'd say definitely we need to remove this thing from the playing field.
So, do you think we could use this head to bait it? Again, it's not going to come and eat the head, but if it smells its mate's head, then that should certainly get its attention.
Might piss it off, but I'm pretty sure you could get its attention with it.
I'm actually going to. It's in a very rampant state of decay. Just with as marshy and swampy as this place is, the bugs. I really only gave Jordan as much information as I did on it because he knows nature with that natural 20. But for the most part, it probably smells like rotting flesh, not so much Griffon anymore. So I don't know if it would recognize it.
Yeah, that was going to be my thought process too. Was who knows how long this scout party came through and got this thing. It and the bodies of the scouts might be fairly decomposed, and if it was going to scent on these things, then it would have already come back and picked everything clean of any viable meat source before it started hunting other prey. Because why wouldn't you take something that's already an easily available meal?
You can see that like most of the horses, like their bellies had been, split open and eaten. Maybe this griffin was a little bit callous with this meal that killed his beloved. So yeah.
This explains the temperament, but it doesn't explain the size.
That one still has me baffled too. The only accountings I've ever read don't have them getting even remotely close to that in size.
What equipment did the scouting party have?
For the most part, they have like your standard starting equipment for like a level 1 buy-in. Your standard explorer's pack. The trail rations are probably expired by now. They have water skins, bedrolls, longbows, and quivers are all standard issue. You see a couple long swords, maybe an axe. They're all in kind of either a splint mail or a studded leather.
Okay.
Studded
If
leather,
I
you
can,
say.
What'd you say?
Studded leather, you say.
Yeah, you want some studded leather?
Sure, I'll take some studded leather.
All right.
I think Stark and I will both grab a quiver each.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for the most part, you see that their equipment is only missing a handful of arrows apiece. You see maybe one of the guys, his studded leather is like split across the chest, and there's like some bandages there. Not really doing anything now as he's super dead. There's maybe a couple like pikes, maybe a couple pikemen, 2 pikes. But yeah, you are more than welcome to fit yourself in some studded leather.
Yep.
I'll use my one wizardly cantrip to prestidigitation it for you so it doesn't smell like dead swamp soldier.
That's an excellent use of that spell.
I would ask our cleric if he wanted to do any rites for the group.
I wouldn't mind, but do we want to try to bury them first?
I'd recommend a funeral pyre. I'd recommend we burn them instead of trying to bury them. I don't know what the custom is in this land for soldiers under the Lord's control, but that would be my recommendation.
For the most part, the militia isn't associated with a particular deity. It's kind of whatever is the cultural norm for the area. That would be like a cairn, or like you said, a funeral pyre. Um, I would imagine maybe here they get like kind of like a framework of wood, and then they kind of stack it high with dry grass that is kind of abundant here. It's like this long dead grass, and set that afire as the pyre with some like wood inside it.
The swamp will have their body one way or the other. We should keep going and get rid of the griffin as soon as we can.
If you guys don't mind, he would start moving the bodies together, and then he would kneel down for a second and start praying, and he would say, you know, may the gods take your sacrifice and, you know, make your family like plentiful. And then he would lay his hand down and he would pretty much sacred flame their bodies so that way it starts burning away.
This is probably something that is something you've done more than once.
I would take any dog tags or any tokens to identify them with if there was any.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. There's some sort of identifying dog tag, probably. So yeah, you managed to. Maybe it takes a little bit of time to find maybe the last one, as he's kind of like thrown from his horse. Maybe his head's missing, and that's why you couldn't find it. But you're able to find all 5 of these tags, and now that you guys have been here for a minute, you can see that there's kind of a clear path that heads up towards the rocks from here that you would imagine that they took to the nest that they were coming back from. But as far as the monster, I haven't seen it. In fact, you haven't even heard it, which you can hear it from a great distance off.
So I would suggest maybe we head to get some corpse kelp, possibly, or should we go and try and get some game to try and bait it with?
There is a lot of people that are willing to sell, like dressed carcasses that they've already hunted that you could probably buy. And then for the corpse kelp, I'm going to need.
Actually, you won't need anything because of Wanderer. I'm allowed to forage and get food and water for up to 5 people and myself. Would that
Food and
give
water,
anything
yes.
for that?
I'm going to say that this is kind of like a specific thing, whereas you're used to the generalities of food and water. This is kind of you wouldn't eat this. And all I'm going to really take for that is it's at the bottom of a pond. Doesn't take you too long to get there. I just need an athletics check from whoever wants to swim down and get it.
I'll do it. I'm proficient in it, and I have a +0.
Perfect.
I'll go as well. I've got athletics, so
I got a 16.
So before you even have the chance to get into the water, Stark, Tabu has doffed his new studded leather and has dove into the water. And Tabu, what is one thing you notice about this water?
It's murky, but not in the usual like brown from mud or green from algae. It's just like a very deep gray that is just swirling around in its depths. Probably contaminated from something near here, backing it with either magic or some other force.
Definitely not unheard of in the lands of Id.
Some
And
rotten carcasses.
there are large clumps of this long brown seaweed that you're able to retrieve. And as
He
soon as
probably
you
takes out one of his short swords, grabs a handful of it, and cuts it off.
Absolutely. And I mean, this pond isn't very deep. You're probably only like 12, 15 feet deep at most. So as you surface, you breach the water as you're getting out, and it hits. You've walked into a battlefield of 1,000 corpses. This plant in your hand is rank. You've encountered more of the white striped black beasts that smell better than this pile of kelp.
Is there any way to wrap it in a waterproof bag of some sort? Put it in a wax sack.
Go ahead and roll a survival with advantage because I didn't think of that.
14 and 2, 16.
Yeah. So, you guys are all aware of kind of maybe you took the water skins and were able to kind of attach them together for something wax container. Maybe actually it's probably like a pelt covered in like fat or something.
Yeah. After hearing it from the Tamira at the village, we probably would have prepared something, I'm guessing.
Absolutely.
I've got a cooking pot if it helps. You can throw it in there with a bunch of water.
Or that.
That would work too. So you've acquired your corpse kelp. Were you wanting to get your own game or personal game of choice, or just buy something from the hunters?
I'd say convenience and the fact that we can help out one of the hunters, just buy something, buy a side of beef or something and throw it down.
You recall Emil. He had a couple deer hanging from a rack as you approached his hut. You're sure he'll cut you a deal.
And I would probably suggest a full carcass rather than just a cut or something. Or a couple of carcasses. Also, did we want to get any of that other other weeds? I know we brought some
ragweed.
Yeah, I know we brought some poison from town to achieve a similar goal, but I don't know if we want to get any ragweed also.
Might as well lace these couple deer carcasses with as many different variations of poison as we can. I'll fly over to Emil's house and have him throw a couple carcasses in the wagon and bring them out to us.
I would also now suggest, might it be safer for us to travel at night? Simply because if the Griffin has showed no tendency to come out at night or even be heard at night, maybe us traveling to get close enough would be best at night time.
I would actually set up our trap at night,
and then we can be in place, ready, hiding, come daytime from 9, 10, noonish.
So the way I kind of see it is you guys are kind of finishing up gathering your materials, which would put you probably, in my mind, around 5, 6 o'clock. That would give you time to get some rest tonight, since most of you only need a couple hours of sleep, before setting up not tonight, as in you get some rest in the evening and spend the night time preparing your trap and getting into position.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned Leopold mentioned the fact that there are narrow channels and stuff in the stones, in the rocks where the Griffon is, and that there's some bowl-shaped pits as well. We'd probably be looking at setting it up somewhere there.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
One question I had for a taboo was if it was possible to kind of make a ghillie suit for us to try and help concealment while we were hiding and waiting. Is that a possibility?
Is there enough foliage around to do that?
I'm gonna say that with the kind of like overgrown dead grasses and like the few shrubs, that you would be able to do that. I'm going to need a check of some kind. What are you thinking, Connor?
Probably survival, but using intelligence.
Yeah, I think that.
If possible, while he's doing that, I would help him out and I'd give him guidance in the process.
Absolutely.
So
And
guidance is a D4 to the roll.
Yep. And before I forget again, I want you all to take a point of inspiration. Because I meant to give you that during the conversations we had earlier, and I forgot.
Would anyone like to do the health action?
Yeah, I can aid you in that process. I'm a pretty survival-oriented guy.
Yeah, I was helping you too. So.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, yeah, first one was better than that. 9.
Given the amount of time and resources you have available, I'm going to say you can only make 2.
Well, Taboo can hide himself in the grass pretty easily, so. And
Jordan doesn't
Jordan's
need
gonna be in the sky.
He's gonna come from above, so.
I mean, I'm pretty stealthy also, but I'll certainly take some extra cover ready. I'd actually maybe say that whoever was going to be waiting closest to have one to kind of gain some sort of advantage on the stealth check anyway, just in case. And then maybe our cleric.
Well, closest is probably going to be a Taboo, so. He isn't going to be opposed, but he'd offer it to somebody else first.
Well, I can tell you now that once this thing is sighted and engaged, Jordan's going to be face-to-face with this thing. So a ghillie suit's kind of wasted on me. I agree that I think the cleric needs to wear one for coverage and concealment until he's ready to make his move. And I'd say Stark take the other one, because you can probably blend in and pick out some good shots on this thing before it even can register where you are.
Yeah, I'll certainly take it.
Whoever of you is getting them, I'm going to say that when you're making stealth checks in this area, you can have a +3 on any stealth check.
Man, look at those mundane magic items.
Yeah, if I get one, I definitely won't be opposed, but he probably wouldn't be happy getting all this mud and crap all over his fancy robes.
This is the tricks of the trade.
Welcome to the road to battle, my friend.
Marsh doesn't give a single crap about your vestments, so they're used to it.
You are able to purchase a few carcasses from Emil, probably up to 5 should you want that many.
I'll pay him handsomely for him too, and I'll drop another 10 stack of gold on him.
Thank you, sir. I knew Lydia would be avenged. Thank you. And you get your carcasses from him.
If he's a hunter, maybe we can get him to help kind of prep the carcasses with the poison and the ragweed.
Yeah, absolutely. He's more than happy to oblige. And actually, getting him to work is actually, you can tell he's not in better moods, spirits, but he's quit crying. So just to clarify exactly what we're doing here. First of all, you all had a long rest from your night here or evening, and you are able to plan accordingly in the nighttime. We're going to be using one of the bowl-shaped features of the jagged rocks as the location to bait it.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got these 5 deer corpses. Are they all together? Are they spread out?
How big are the bowls?
Probably. I want to say that they're not all they're not stone by any means, so they vary in size. The biggest one's probably like maybe 20 feet in diameter.
I'd say drop these carcasses right in the center of it. That way our sniper and our cleric both and our hunter all have elevated positions on the prey and the bait. And just leave it right in the center of the bowl.
I would give you guys the net that we acquired as well to try and throw on its wings to try and to keep it grounded and to try and gain some advantage on attacks from it.
That's full as the thing's not going to be able to move a
lot. I'll cut some lengths of this hemp rope too and start fashioning some bolos. I'll just grab some loose stone that's around.
And I guess I'd give you guys the oil or alchemy fire as well. And then if you have the oil, I would have some arrows ready to set on fire and use as fire arrows to set it on fire.
Tabu is probably helping out Emil poison these carcasses.
Yeah, I'll hand Sniper the small half keg of oil that we brought for dropping on this thing so that way he can start soaking some arrows.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So you're able to set up a bait trap in the middle of one of these pockets where multiple hills kind of all come together, forming like this marshy depression at the bottom. You've got 5 carcasses lined with corpse weed and various paralytics and poisons. Is there anything else you'd like to do? You got your net, you got your fire ready.
Tabu would like to hide somewhere where he's like as close as he can be, but he's still lightly obscured.
Okay.
Before you do that, everyone would like to have everybody like meet, together, and he will grab the hand of the 2 nearest people with him, and he would pretty much start like praying to his god for to watch over them, and then I will cast 8 on all 3 of them, which gives them 5 extra hit points for 8 hours.
Cool.
Question, what is the size dimension on a net?
I'm going to say it's like 10 foot by 10 foot.
That's what I thought it was. If this bowl depression's 20 foot, let's take some of this rope and link these 2 nets together Once this bastard lands, I'll fly that bitch straight across the top of the bowl and we'll pin his ass in.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
I don't see a problem with that.
Restrict its movement.
Perfect.
And as such, you all, anybody who would like to hide, go ahead and give me a stealth roll now.
I'm going to fly up into the air, probably 150 or so feet, and just take a lazy circuit over the top of this bowl.
Just make sure it doesn't see you. So pick you out the sky. I got a with the ghillie suit. I got a 24. Yeah, 24.
You're hidden.
I'm going to be quite far away as well. I'm going to probably be like 300 feet away, maybe 500 feet away, because I'm going to be quite far away from this thing.
Okay. And as such, the sun rises in the marshlands by Fang Hollow. Steve, Jordan has probably, gotten tired and came down for a bit and managed to fly back up. Probably one time in a couple hours that you guys waited. And it's probably about 10:30, 11 in the morning that you hear the piercing cry of the Western Uradiss griffon. It rips through the air like a knife. And you know that if this thing was close enough and it screamed like that, you would have a splitting headache. A large looming shadow emerges from the horizon. The air is dank with the smell of rotting corpses. You hear the wing beats as it approaches. Loud, thunderous booms as these massive wings keep this huge creature airborne. Its size is the first thing that strikes you as monstrous. 25 foot easily, maybe even 30-foot wingspan, and almost 2 men in length. Its talons could probably pierce through your body. Its hind quarter is rippling with muscle. I need everyone to make a will save. Except, Stark, you are not close enough.
That's 11.
So, Joran, your nerves are tempered. It's hard to strike fear in a blade singer. But it doesn't substitute how unsettling this thing appears in the flesh. The head and front quarters of most of this creature is matted with blood, curdling in its age. You can see flies swarming about it. The eyes, devoid of emotion like most creatures, but a primal sense that you are being hunted by this thing. You are the prey. It leaves you unnerved. And so, Itabu and Ebron, you are both frightened for 1 minute. And I actually left my other notebook. I'll be right back. 2 seconds.
And then we
So
all
I'm
leveled up to
guessing-
level 5.
I'm guessing we are going to wait for him to at least eat some of the carcasses before we try and attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recommend we let him land. Once he starts trying to dig into the food, give him a split second. I'll grab the net, fly it straight over the top of it, and drop it down. And then we all just start raining.
Now, as a battle master, I've taken the trip attack.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I can use that while it's in the sky to try and get it to fall to the floor rather than like obviously trip over.
Weirdly, there are rules for that in Xanathar's Guide. Like, to knock something prone, it will instead fall out of the sky, and the fall damage is reduced by its fly speed.
Yeah. So like I've got battle master trip. That was kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to go battle master. To be fair, to try and use that if I could.
Battlemaster is my favorite of the fighter archetypes.
Oh, definitely, mine too.
It's got a lot of versatility to it. You can use it a lot of ways.
Yeah, I like the kind of professional, skilled maneuvers to it. So it's like you're a really trained fighter that has been kind of classically taught how to use these weapons. So I like that kind of profile.
Yeah, I kind of picture it as the same jump that you saw from Conan, you know, when he went from being any dumb meathead who could swing a sword to seeing the classically trained side of swordsmanship.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the secret of steel? Okay, so Itabu and Everin, you are terrified right now. So any ability checks or attack rolls are made at disadvantage while the source of this fear is in range. And you cannot move closer to this creature willingly.
Out of curiosity, can we repeat the save at any time?
I'm going to say that you will be able to at the end of each of your turns.
Coolio.
It lands with a loud. I don't know, you feel the vibration as it lands through the ground, as it kind of hurtles over this mass of flesh and corpse weed. And it starts devouring gluttonous creatures griffins are.
I would like to give this thing a good solid 5 count in my head, and then I would like to spring from hiding and fly this net across the top of this basin.
And as soon as I see him doing that, I want to take a shot while it's not paying attention to us.
So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys all get a surprise round, because you are ambushing the fuck out of this griffin. And then we will roll initiative. So everyone gets a turn as the saints kind of eating meat.
Is this an advantage? Sorry. With
Yes.
it being, yeah. Okay. Cool. Then I'm going to use the sharpshooter ability.
Okay.
The -5 attack to +10 damage.
Okay.
Oh, and that's a 17 on the die.
I'll do it.
Yeah, so it's like a 19 with the advantage, the minus and the plus. So, yeah, that's a D8.
And you get to add
a-
another D8 to it because of trip attack.
No, I'm not ready to trip it yet. But I am going to use distract, my distracting attack as well, which should give advantage also on the next attack made to it. 7.
Well, everyone will have advantage right now. Would you want? Is that for the next attack? Like
Okay, yeah,
charging attacks.
I'll say. Oh yeah, I'll save my die. For the next one then. So 7 plus 3 is 10. Plus 10 also
20
is
damage.
20. Yeah, 20 damage.
So
I've been lining this up.
yeah, you've been waiting for it. Jesus.
My breathing slows. I focus in I try and focus on the smallest point that I can see on this griffin. It's one of them things where you try and hit a large space and you'll probably miss it, but when you try and focus in on the smallest detail, then I'm trying to aim for its eye sort of thing. That's how focused in I am. And as I release my breath, as I breathe out, I let go of the bowstring and the arrow flies from the bow and thugs into this griffin.
And it does indeed make purchase square in the breast of this beast. Before I tell you what happens, I would like everyone else to do something.
As a taboo is lying in the brush and he gets this overwhelming sense of fear, he peeks out over the grass and sees the griffin eating the carcasses that we had brought. And he whispers out, and green tribal markings would start traveling up its limbs and onto its torso and up onto its head as he casts Hunter's Mark on it. And then he's going to pull out his bow and also take a shot at it. And the disadvantage from frightened cancels out the advantage from surprise attack. So just straight roll. And that is going to be a 21 to hit. And that's going to be 15 more damage as the arrow sinks into one of this griffin's haunches, and the green light that was there also shoots into it at the wound.
Excellent. Who's next? Joran or Edward?
All right, so Joran is going to, with the net in one hand, fly as fast as he's ever flown possible, because he does not want to be above this thing right now while it's in this pit getting hammered on, because I know its instinct is to immediately lift off and get the fuck out of here. In one hand, I'm dragging the net across the opening with me. In the other hand, I want to drop or throw this flask of acid down onto this thing as I fly across the opening.
Was it acid or oil?
I have a few of each. Range touch attack with an improvised weapon. So that is going to be a 17 to hit.
That'll do it.
And a flask of acids, 2d6. That'll be 14 damage. And if I can, I'm going to try to center this thing on, like, the middle of its back where its pinions or his wings are. I want to inhibit his ability to fly.
Okay. And then finally, Efren.
I have a question. If I cast a spell that they have to make a save, well, how does that work out with disadvantage or being feared?
No, I'm gonna say that it's not applied to either of them.
Okay, so I can still do it then.
Yeah.
All right. I would go since it's a 60 foot thing. I would go the farthest I can, and he would be like, "Foul beast," and he would like raise his hand and cast Sacred Flame on it. My DC is 13.
That's dexterity or wisdom? For to save.
Sacred Flame is a dexterity save.
You got a 19 on the die, so maybe just your sight was caught off and you couldn't get.
Yeah, his hands were probably shaking from being afraid. He couldn't focus.
Yeah. And with that, let me get initiatives. By the way, guys, you guys just did 50 points, well, just shy of 50 points of damage in 1 round. So, good job.
By the way, I forgot to do the wisdom save at the end of my turn. I just rolled it and I got a 22.
Okay.
I have a 21 initiative.
I got 9.
Jesus.
5.
I got 6.
Did you roll your wisdom save as well, Everin?
No, give me a second. My wisdom save is 20 total.
Yeah, so you and the taboo are both fine. But you guys have abysmal initiative. Except Jordan. Jordan's sitting fine.
Yeah, my initiative 6.
It's okay. Most of our initiatives suck.
So first up is the Griffon. He lets out a punishing cry as he's pummeled with arrows from various directions. I need everyone to make a wisdom save.
14.
17.
23.
I'm sorry, run that back 1 second. I had a kid with an upset stomach.
Wisdom save.
Because the Griffon's screaming really loud.
Gotcha. 17.
So, Atahu, though your hands have settled, you're a lot closer than most of everyone else is. And this cry ripples through your head. You are stunned until next round.
And does stun mean I can't take actions?
Correct.
Neat.
It raises its gaze to you, Joran, for you're easily within sight. And it's going to make an attack. It's having difficulty flying given the conditions of it's starting to feel the effects of the poison that it's eaten in the net. But it's able to leap enough to jump into the air and make an attack at you. First with its beak and then with its claw. So I don't think a 10 hits. So his beak strike misses. Ooh. But I guess you can tell me how you do it. You avoid his first attack with his beak, but his claw catches you.
I'm so focused on this massive beak snapping shut inches away from my face as I go to roll to the side through the air as he's lunging toward me that I completely forget to watch for his claws as I pass in front of him, and he just takes it and just rakes it down my shoulder as I go to roll past and beat my wings to circle around him.
Are you muted, Baron?
Yeah, I see that. So I need you to make a strength check. Jordan is he's kind of his claws are trying to grab you.
That is a 16.
All right, he rolled a 22. So he's got a hold of you. You're not restrained to where you can't do anything. You're just grappled, so he will have advantage on attacks against you.
Okay.
And he's like, his movement's reduced, but he has upwards of 80 feet of fly speed. So even reduced, he was able to kind of lunge into the air to grab a hold of you. For a total of 14 points of damage. And now it is your turn.
It's been a while since Joran's engaged in a combat to this level. You know, he spent years inside the Silver Citadel just perfecting his art, and now he believes that he's come to a point in his career where he's reached that pinnacle, and now it's time to put it to use. And the music begins to flow. He begins to hear these soft notes echoing. He doesn't know if it's echoing within his head or if his companions can hear this music on the battlefield as well. But the song is familiar to him. It's always the same song. He begins by pulling both of his rapiers from his hip, and what to everyone around would appear to be that he wants to start dancing with this beast. He's going to fall into his blade song, and he's going to start channeling the arcane energy necessary to wreathe both of his blades in flames. And that will be my action for the turn. And I will attempt to break his grapple, but I doubt it if he's rolling that high.
Well, we just have to do contested strength checks.
18.
Or Joran could do an acrobatics check.
Or you could do acrobatics, whichever's higher.
That's even better. So that's 23.
All right. That's impressive because he rolled a non-natural 20.
I rolled a 16 and I have a 7 acrobatics. One of the things Ariel's proficient in.
You will escape, but you were just in the claws of a massive beast. And though you're alive, I'm going to say that your fly speed is reduced simply because wings are not built to be grabbed up like that. I'm not going to say you can't fly completely, but I'm going to say you're reduced to half your fly speed until they heal or you gain medical treatment.
I would absolutely agree with that. I would even go as far as to say you would be right in removing my fly speed for the time being, because in the description of an Avarial, they are very frail, even more so than normal elves. They have hollow bones in their wings, which lighten me enough to be able to fly. So I could totally see that, and I would absolutely agree with that.
I'm going to go ahead and roll a d4 then. Evens, you have half fly speed. Odds, you're crippled right now. How's that sound?
Totally cool.
All right, so 2 on the die. You felt, actually, in the back of your mind as the song is playing, there's a flag going off, like an oh no. You feel the flexing of the bones in your wings, and it's going too far. You may even hear a couple like stress fractures. and there's a dull pain that's kind of pulsating in your wings. With his 40 feet of fly speed, I would say that this bowl was probably 10 to 15 feet deep. So you were probably about 25 feet in the air. I need a dexterity savings throw.
That is a natural 17 on the die with 5 for my dex, so that's 22.
Okay. So whatever I roll, you're going to take half of because you managed to nimbly land, but you were dropped 25 feet. And I know personally I can't fall 25 feet. So you only take 7 points of damage because you are dropped.
Jordan's not very happy right now.
And that was your contested strength check to break out of his grapple.
Yep.
So that brings us to Stark.
Yeah. Does a 19 hit?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Stark, seeing Joran being swept up by this huge monstrosity, he was going to try and take this precision shot to get some extra damage. Again, try and focus in on the eyes, but he didn't want to miss and potentially hit his comrade. So he thought that the best thing he could do is try and distract this beast from Joran as he's just been dropped out of his clutches. So Stark knocks the arrow, draws the bow, shifts his gaze, tries to aim at the rump of the beast to see if we can get it to turn and look kind of in my direction, I'm guessing. And I did a distracting shot with my Battlemaster die. So that will give advantage to the next attack that's on it. I did 10 points of damage overall.
Okay. And I'm going to have to say that you did indeed just kind of hit it square in like the hind leg. Like I said before, its hindquarters are fucking rippling with muscle. This thing is a beast. And you see, it's not so much the hind part of it that is kind of curdled with this blood. It's actually, fairly clean from where you can sit and see from your ways off, Stark. But there is a stark contrast of red on the gold of its fur as you find purchase in its back right leg.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So the next attack should be at advantage, which should help my allies.
And so to kind of describe that narratively, it is looking down on, Joran with murder in its gaze, and this arrow to the ass is just enough for it to kind of beat its wings again, and it can't necessarily. Actually, give me a stealth check, please.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. 13 plus 5, 18 plus the 3 from the ghillie suit.
21.
Yeah, so that's 21. Do I need to do it at a disadvantage at all, or?
Yeah, just because you just shot it.
Well, that's a 6 plus 5 plus 3, 14.
Okay, so it does see you. So you'll no longer have advantage against attacks against it until you roll for stealth again.
Yeah.
But it's not in a position where it can get to you by any means.
Yeah, so I'd probably be at least 300 feet, 400 feet away. So.
Yeah. You had said you were quite a distance away, and it's got this net on it, so it's probably the unnerving part of it all is you kind of see like the faint reflection of the sun kind of ping off its eyeball as it looks in your direction. And is there anything else you'd like to do?
No, that's me done.
Okay, and then Everett. Keep in mind you have advantage on the attack.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Well, even with that, everyone's gonna run to Joran, and he's gonna cast Warding Bond on him.
Go ahead and refresh my memory on what that does, please.
It says this spell wards a willing creature you touch and creates a mystic connection between you and the target until the spell ends, while the target is within 60 feet of you against +1 AC and saving throws, and it has resistance to all damage. Also, each time it takes damage, you take the same amount of damage.
Okay, not too bad. Actually, that's something Joran needs pretty bad right now. So, Joran, you have a bonus to your AC.
Because
And,
Blade Singers definitely
and
need
I
more
will
armor.
be standing like right beside him.
What did you say, Atabu?
Because Blade Singers definitely need more armor.
Yeah. Actually, they just need to not get in the claws of a griffin. That was.
Especially a murderous ass griffin. Fucking beastly ass 22s and 23 strength rolls.
It's got a +6 to its strength, so I did beef it up for a little bit from the standard version, but hopefully it's not. I don't want to seem unfair, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh no, it's
I mean,
absolutely.
you did let us get
There's-
53 damage on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I feel like we're all on an equal playing field here.
Oh yeah.
I'm not.
And if you go against a griffin, you should have some fear of whether or not you're gonna make it up. I mean, it's not a dragon, it's not a Tarask, but it is one monstrous creature. It's like an owl bear. People think they're cuddly and fluffy, but they're not. They will kill you.
Absolutely. So that brings us to the bottom of the round with the Tapu.
Stunned.
You are stunned. Damn. It's a bummer, man. So for the distraction that Stark made, since there was an attack following that, I'm going to let that roll over to Joran once it's his turn again.
Well, my normal rational brain would tell me that it's time to, since I can't beat Wing.
Well, sorry, the Griffin goes before you. I'm just saying that advantage to an attack is going to roll over to you. I don't know if that's how the actual ability works, but that's how we're going to do it today.
Yeah, it's the whoever attacks next against
Perfect.
it gets it.
That's what I thought. So this Griffin is pissed. It's going to roll a con save because the contents of its stomach are kind of, yeah, they're sitting funky, but the adrenaline of getting smacked for the metaphysical 60 points of damage in all of about 12 seconds is enough to keep its sanity, at least for the moment.
Does the acid do any extra damage, or is it just a one-off burn?
It did a total of 14 damage. I'm gonna say that the reaction between these more what's the carbon? No, whatever fucking feathers are made out of. These are this is a big ass fucking monster. It's kind of like melted the feathers to its back, halting the process. Probably extremely uncomfortable for the griffin, but I'm gonna say it's just I'm gonna say it's just a one-time thing. So this griffin looks down at you, Evren, staring at what should be its next meal. And it comes down hard, its full weight bearing down upon you. And I am going to hit you with a claw and beak attack. So the beak hits. Does a 16 hit you? Everyone? 16? Did he freeze or is it me?
You're not frozen. I hear you.
I hear you too.
Yeah, and me.
Jose, what's your AC?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
So it's 15.
Okay, so you're hit with both. This claw and beak. I'm sorry, Jose. So the beak hits you for 18 points of damage. And as you're bitten hard by this clamp of steel, his paw comes from the side. Well, it's not a paw, it's a talon. It hits you for another 16 points of damage.
Just letting you know I'm unconscious right now.
So I'm going to let you actually describe what that looks like. Since you were dropped in one go, I'm going to say that you have some sort of like grievous injury. So that if you did get, stabilized, you would be dealing with. I'll let you choose that, and you don't have to choose that right now. But go ahead and describe to me how you are downed.
He wanted to like hit me with his beak, and he probably got me like in the collarbone. And then as he was coming down, he just scratched me from head to mid chest with his claw, and I just like fall backwards as I got this thing on me.
You hear a cry cut short, and the sound of fluid hitting the ground, or spraying from a wound, rather, as Everin is brought to the ground. It is Jordan's turn.
So I see this as I'm watching this griffin smash down into this companion of mine that just came to my aid. My only thought is I can't stop to go to his aid right now. I have to press the attack on this thing. Otherwise, it's going to sense that the kill is near and it's going to take his head off completely. So I am going to, as both of my blades engulf in this red fire, I'm going to launch into my whirl of my flame song, and I'm going to use my dual striking, dual mastery ability to hit this thing with both my weapons in one attack.
All right, give me a couple of attack rolls then.
And I'm going to roll with advantage from Kevin.
Yep.
And that's a 21 to hit. Damage. 2 of it fire damage.
Okay. And your strikes both make purchase as this thing is kind of reeled back from the fire as well. I hate to do this, but I need a not even 5 minute intervention, as I have to change locations of my laptop. I don't have my charger, so I apologize. Bear with me.
No problem.
No worries.
There's not a bear here. There's a griffin.
Yeah. bugbear with me. So I had a thought when this was put up as an interest post. Wouldn't it be good if like we just all did ranger types and we just went with like the ranger type and we all just went with like longbows from 150 yards.
Just a pack of like Mirrorwood elves just ready to rain devastation.
Well, yeah, I took the variant human, so you get that feat at first level. To be fair, knowing that I could do the sharpshooter with a longbow,
We all
and
just
the
drop our hunter's marks on it, and we're all doing like a D8 plus a D6 plus whatever else.
that's it. That's it. Well, my next plan is I'm gonna do the sharpshooter attack, the -5 plus 10 damage, and probably if I need to use my precision battlemaster maneuver if I need to make sure to kind of counteract that -5.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Okay, sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
No problem.
So, Joran, you have just slashed into this beast for some serious damage. That brings us to Stark.
Yeah. So I'm going to do my sharpshooter ability, -5 for the +10.
Okay.
And to, if I need to, I might need to offset the -5 with a battlemaster precision attack. In fact, I'll nominate it now just to just in case I have to. 12, and then plus the precision. It's a 3, so that's 15, 17. I managed to get to there.
17 will hit.
Yeah, okay. And then damage. Oh, 7 on the die, so that's 10. That's another 20 damage. 7 on the die, +3, +10 for the sharpshooter.
You guys are eating his health.
Yeah, so seeing a kind of desperate situation of our cleric be landed on by this griffin, probably almost amongst the meat pile that was previously there. I feel that it's time for kind of desperate measures, and I have to really focus and really have to come up with the goods. So I focus in, I manage my breathing, deep, slow breaths in and out, in and out. And as I exhale is again when I release the bowstring as the arrow zips from my bow, flies true, and hits the griffin. I imagine probably in the neck as it's just bit down on our clerical friend. So I imagine got it somewhere in the neck region.
And it's harder to tell on that half of the griffin as it's already kind of curdled blood matting its feathers. But you see the staff stick, and you know you've made purchase. That brings us to Everin, which you made a death save, which you succeeded. And so that brings us to the bottom of the order with the top. Finally gets to do something.
Yeah. So seeing that his friend just went down, the one that was keeping his other friend alive, he's going to abandon his hiding spot, running up and running his hand through the plants as a small ball of green energy would appear there, and he'd slam his chest onto Everin's chest as he's casting Cure Wounds.
This creature is kind of Everin, so I'm going to say that he would get an opportunity attack should you run all the way up. Would you
I'll
still
roll
like to
my
do
way
that?
up.
Okay. You were warned.
Everyone regain 11 HP.
Thank you
There is
very
a
much.
there is a gasp of life beneath the creature as this small other two bipedal creature runs forward. An 18 hits you, if I'm not mistaken.
You're not.
Okay. All right, you're only going to take 11 points of damage. I'm sorry, 13 points of damage. As his right paw or claw reaches out to swat you away. You still manage to revive your friend, but at the cost of some damage yourself.
And because Hunter's Mark is concentration, I need to make that save, and I failed it as the green lights fade away.
But your friend's alive.
Yeah.
For now. Yeah. So,
Silver linings, you gotta look at them. Stay positive.
well, here in Uradiss, the silver lining is the gray horizon that blankets this world. So this brings us to the Griffon. So as blood drips from a few locations on its body, you see its head go back as the dreaded shriek emits from its mouth. Need everyone to make another wisdom save.
Natural 16. Plus,
You're looking for a 16, so.
yeah, well, I got +2, so
7.
18.
Tabo, you poor bastard. Okay. You said you got a 12?
Can't make a save.
I got natural 20 and then plus my modifier.
So, Joran and the Tabu, he must have been looking right at you because you're both kind of seize up as this piercing cry thunders through your head.
The Griffin's just racist. He doesn't
Maybe.
like elves.
I
No,
actually
see-
rolled a 16.
Oh, if
Sorry,
you roll a 16, then you're good.
Yeah, I didn't hear you say my name too. I just felt really bad for Atabu.
Poor lad. He's not. The Griffin's not racist. He hates everybody equally. And it looks back down. It's still standing over top of you, Everin. And it now feels you squirming to get out from underneath it. Maybe actually, I don't want to put words in your mouth and say you're squirming. It feels you reach for your leg, which you now feel this immense throbbing, and you can actually kind of feel it swelling.
Jeez.
Yeah, just long-term knee injuries, man. They're scarier than a Griffin.
I hear that for certain.
Same. It's going to try and it's going to peck you, basically. All right, so I rolled with advantage because I'm standing over top of you, and I got 2 10s. But it's proficiency bonus and attack modifier bring it to an 18.
Sorry.
So as this massive beak opens and closes in front of you, and you see him rear back to smash it down on top of you, you take 13 points of damage.
Well, I'm done again.
And as it sees the flaming swords of Joran standing next to him, he's going to lash out with his other claw. I just just rolled 3 10s in a row. 18.
It's towards me again, or
No, this is towards Joran.
18 is my armor effectively under the spell cast from the cleric before he was unconscious.
So it would hit you because I think the spell breaks after he drops.
I think it's a concentration thing too. I don't know.
So his claw talon lashes out for 14 points of damage.
I am definitely feeling this fight.
That brings us to Jordan's turn.
And seeing this, I am going to launch into my whirl again of my blade song. 24 to hit.
Make some damage.
29 damage.
Good lord. It is after this strike you see the stagger. It's hurting. It's hurting very badly. Blood is leaking from his body.
And I'm going to use my movement to begin to circle around it to try to get him to turn away from my two companions that are at the mercy of him right now. And I'm going to bellow out in a loud voice, hit it with everything you got!
So, fortunately, unfortunately, warding bond is not concentration,
Well,
which means Jose also took damage from that.
Oh!
Which is a failed death save.
yeah, but it drops whenever I went unconscious last time.
No.
It says the spell ends if you drop to 0 hit points, or if you and the target becomes separated by more than 60 feet.
Oh, never mind then. It's not concentration, it's just weird.
you lucked out. You almost had a failed death save. Thank God for the
I would have died then.
Well, in the essence of the hunt, I believe that brings us to Stark.
Yeah, so again, seeing that Jorin is circling to try and distract it, I'm going to try and aid in distracting with a distracting strike if I can. Again, trying to aid for its hindquarters, try and get it to turn away from the cleric and our ranger. So here goes the attack. Ooh. That's an 8, and that's plus 7. 15.
15 does not hit.
Yeah, so the arrow this time goes sailing over and just misses the hindquarter and lands like between its legs. That's that's my turn. Actually, I'm going to action surge.
I was going to say, you do have an action surge.
Yeah. Being frustrated at my first miss, I'm going to action surge and go again. That's a 17 on the die this time.
That'll do it.
Yeah. So damage is 2 and 2. So that's 7 damage. And that's, again, the distracting strike. So it's advantage on whoever attacks him next.
You see the ragged pants as this. There's a little bit of fight left, but that last arrow, you've seen it kind of recoil a little bit farther than it had before. Everin, I need a death save.
I did it ahead of time. I got a 16.
Okay, so that's a success.
I imagine I Achilles'd it, got it through to Achilles.
Yeah, it's not flapping its wings as ferociously anymore. It's It's kind of got like a laze, stupor to its movements. Atabu, you're unfortunately stunned. So that brings us back to the.
It's almost better than fear.
It's almost better than fear. So that brings us back to the Griffon. It looks first to Joran. It's going to lash out with its beak. God, man. 16 on the die for a total of 22. It hits you for 18 points of damage.
And Joran drops.
This creature knows that it's in a corner. It is in a manner of speech. It's fighting angrily and for its life. And you feel its beak clamp down upon you. And after feeling the body in its mouth go limp, it turns and sets its sights. Actually, what would it do?
Would it attack the stunned elf right in front of it, or the variant human farther away?
Oh, I'm trying to figure that out. It's going to fly, or what it can still fly. And it's going to spear into you, Atabu.
Okay.
Okay. Oh my god, I'm sorry. Natural 20.
It's not auto crit, is it, by the way?
What's that?
Yeah, no, it's paralyzed auto crit, isn't it?
He's
I'm
just
not
stunned.
paralyzed, I'm stunned.
Yeah, he's just stunned.
Yeah.
Well, I rolled a natural 20 anyway. You're getting crit.
Yay.
Damn.
Don't doubt that fighter hit die, though.
Right. Okay, so you took 32 points of damage.
Huh. You should doubt that fighter hit die, though.
Are you still alive?
Nope. Well, I'm still alive, but I'm not up. This thing just landed itself a triple.
Triple kill. Well, to be honest, it doesn't really pay attention to if it's knocked you out or not, because you are grappled. And it is
Yay.
flying up into the air.
Oh, it's gonna drop me.
Not this turn. So our only, well, actually, Joran, give me a death save.
Natural 17.
All right, so that's a pass. Stark, you're our last man in the field. You need to take this thing down. Kevin. All right, well, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Kevin, you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah. I just had like my distracting strike, even though it gives advantage on the next attack and I am the next attack, it doesn't work for myself.
Oh.
So, god damn it.
It doesn't?
No, I've just read the ruling on it and it says ally, but not me. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to have to try and shoot it. Is it in the air now, did you say?
Yes.
It's going to hurt either way. Okay, I'm going to try the trip attack on it, even though its strength is pretty good.
Okay.
I want to try and bring it down. All right, and that's a 10 on the die, which makes it 17.
That'll hit.
Yeah. 2 on the first dice, on the trip attack dice, 7, so that's 9 plus 3, 12 damage.
All right. Where did
I imagine I can just see its underbelly, and I've managed to get a shot into its underside, around by its ribs somewhere.
Yes. And as you do so, go ahead and describe it as you.
Yeah, it as it beats its wings and it takes off and it's just in the air. I imagine it kind of banks to the one side to start trying to go north of our position, and as it just banks, it shows me just where its heart, where I think its heart might be. I see a couple of ribs, rib bones. Even though it's a fleshy animal because it's been eating quite a bit, I can just see where its ribs would be, and I managed to sink an arrow just between like 2 of its ribs as it plunges into its heart, or again where I think its heart might be. But from its reaction, how it kind of cranes its neck and arcs its back, and its wings both go kind of rigid and stick straight up in the air, I feel I might have hit its vital organ.
I want Connor. Unfortunately, you are in the clutches of a dead creature that's falling about 40 feet out of the air.
Yep.
How many death saves have you succeeded or failed? Have you?
I haven't made any yet.
Okay.
Would you like me to make one now?
Actually, yes. No. Actually, no. I'm gonna wait till your turn.
Okay.
As this thing falls out of the sky, I would like the 3 of you that are down to give me a percentile roll, please. So 2d10s.
I really hope it doesn't end that
72%.
I got 61%.
64.
So the 3 of you were unfortunately very close together when you were downed. And this thing kind of flew straight up. You're all going to take 2 failed death saves.
Shit. And as I'm so far away, I can't even get to you in time to chuck some potions down your throats.
No, unfortunately not. But that brings us to Everin. Give me a death save.
You better make this.
I got a 2.
I had a plan that would have gotten us all out alive, but you needed to make that.
Not to meta you out, but you did receive an inspiration point.
I don't know if inspiration works on death saves. I'll allow it. That's fine.
Can I just say that I used my move after the shot to
That's
kind
a
of
lot
start.
better. I got a 17 on this one.
Okay,
Good.
so you succeed. Yep, that's fine. Stark. Taboo.
I got a nat 20.
All right, so you're 2 and 2.
No,
nat 20 brings you 1.
I believe the rule brings me up to 1. Yeah.
Yep.
So I get up, and my bow is probably crushed under this griffin.
I mean, actually, you probably have some serious injuries still.
Yeah.
It's able to fly, so it's not the most heavy thing in the world, but it's still very large, and you're probably even pinned.
Can I reach anybody?
I'm gonna say you can reach Joran.
Right then. Let's do this. The taboo draws his hand across the griffin's pelt, drawing whatever little life force is still left in it. pulling out a green orb from it and putting it into Joran as he casts Cure Wounds. Because rangers have 3 spell slots.
So Joran,
He's in better shape than I am right now.
you feel you're still in a lot of fucking pain. The weight of this massive creature alone is putting a lot of stress on your bones and slender frame. But it is your turn.
Feeling this energy flow into me from Atabu, realizing what just happened to all of us and piecing it together, because the last thing I remember was circling around this griffin trying to distract it from my companions and then seeing that gigantic beak lunging in at me again. Realizing that I just met my fate and was brought back by the graces of Atabu, I'm going to reach into my belt pouch and pull out one of these cure potions that we bought, and I'm going to pop the cork and dump it down his throat.
And you're able to do so, just barely straining against the weight of this thing to get your health pot out. Thankfully, it hadn't been you that was dropped, because you're sure that had you fallen this far, it probably would have smashed a lot of the things inside your pack.
And inside my back.
Yeah. But you are successful, and you're able to get a health pot down Everin's throat. So the 3 of you are all conscious again. We are out of initiative order since you guys are all up. And I believe probably around this time you're seeing the form of Stark hauling ass to come over and help you.
Yeah, Stark would be looking around at the devastation that this griffin landing on these guys has caused, and I'd be trying to, if not lift the carcass, but try and lift certain bits to try and get these guys out if I can, and or help them get out in some way, as delicately as possible, just in case there's any broken bones or a broken back or something like that. I'm just going to go over and aid getting them out from underneath this griffin.
You are able to do so. Take some time, but you're able to maneuver this griffin off of these fellow companions of yours. None of them are in very good shape. Definitely some lingering issues will persist from this combat for the rest of their lives.
And I will give up my health potion as well for someone. I would also, once they're out, I'd also say, listen, you guys, you stay here, try and rest up. If I need to help him set up a camp first, I would do. But I would say I'm going to head back to town, get some of the villagers to come and help, help you out, get you on a cart or something to get you back to town. So you guys just stay here, and that's what I would suggest, and see what they say.
The taboo would probably say, I can walk, and then he'd try to get up, and then he'd stumble and fall back down.
Everin, like, after everything, he would definitely thank you, and then he would start praying. He wouldn't be kneeling, of course, because his leg's fucked up, but he would just be sitting down praying, and he would cast a prayer of healing on everybody. I know it's kind of late, but might as well heal us up.
You feel the vitality return to the group. It's not much, but it's enough to brighten your spirits that you'll live to the next day. Jesus Christ. So actually, everyone feels great.
I was gonna say that made Jordan feel fan-fucking-tastic.
You essentially got the equivalent of some magical morphine.
Yeah, I would have definitely started running off because I took no damage.
Right, right. So where we're going to end this is with a small fire being lit next to the carcass of this massive monster. We see probably a Tabu or Joran removing its head, or beginning the process of maybe looking for some sort of trophy they can take. You see the silhouette of Stark um, dashing back towards town. And it's probably only, I guess there wouldn't be a fire because it's like noon. I mean, unless you wanted to start a fire to cook some of this thing or cook some food, whatever. That's up to you. Either way.
We'd burn its corpse most likely for sure anyway, so
So,
We cut the head off first.
yeah, the camera zooms out over the hills, through the swamps, back out into Fang Hollow, and it keeps going, up the trail that you guys followed all the way to West Marsh, and then we'll cut to black. So thank you guys for participating in the Uradiss contract Griffon hunt. This is certainly not a style of game that I have ever run like this before. I had fun, and I certainly hope you guys did too. If you have any sort of feedback or comments on the game, feel free to send me those in the chat that we have. And we're going to go ahead and do outros. So we'll start with you, Kevin, because I hit you last.
Yeah, cool. Thanks a lot for inviting me onto the game. Had real good fun. It was certainly a good test, and my sort of game where we have to kind of strategize a lot more and come up with plans and investigate and stuff like that. So I certainly enjoy that style of game. So thanks a lot for having me on. I haven't got a channel, but I certainly enjoy watching and listening to the content that some of these guys are putting out. And I'm certainly a follower of you guys anyway. So, yeah, thanks a lot.
Absolutely. After playing together the other day, I knew I would certainly enjoy having you at my table as well. So please feel inclined to put interest posts I put out in the future. Certainly been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm pretty free still at the moment for my time wise. So if anyone needs any kind of backup games, last minute or anything, then drop me a message and I'll certainly help out.
Absolutely. Steve.
well, everybody, I'm Steve. Thanks again for having me to play. Again, great group of people to play with. First time playing with you, Jose, but awesome, fantastic. I don't think you're a bad healer at all, bro. It happens. Baron, your Griffon is a freaking monster, and I love it. I can't wait. I got plenty of ideas I'm going to throw at you in the chat. I will definitely be jumping on interest posts from all you guys. I might even throw a few up myself over the next coming couple of weeks, so please feel free to jump in. And yeah, thanks, man.
The sentiment resonates with you as well. Played together the other week, and I knew I'd like to have you at my table, so I certainly hope we'll play more in the future. Jose.
Hey everybody, my name's Jose. I got the YouTube channel D20SA. And yeah, man, thanks for having me. That was a lot of fun. That Griffon was freaking brutal, man. I love it. It was great.
You know I love having you here, bro. Certainly last but not least, Connor.
Hello, everyone. As I said earlier, I run the channel Versatile Diecaster. There's going to be stuff going up on that semi-regularly for Draconica. feel free to look forward to that and go over there to check out the playtests I've already run and gotten playtests. All of the people here were in playtests there. And I'm just liking to say, I'm really glad I decided to be the ocular.
Yeah, good call. I didn't expect you to do that. I was hoping to kill one of you today. I certainly tried at the very least. It's not usually my intention to kill the players, but it fit. It felt right.
Why not for one shots?
Yeah.
I think we all kind of came into it assuming that we were probably going to die.
And to an extent, yeah. Like I said, I did beef the hell out of this monster, but I tried to give you guys as many opportunities as I could to give you the advantage here. And like I fucking said earlier, you guys did fucking 50 points of damage in the surprise round, which was a third of its total health, give or take.
I'm just saying he would have died a lot sooner if I was able to do stuff.
Yeah, he probably would have. I mean, realistically, I beefed its stats up like 1 point apiece. I gave it a couple abilities, like its terrifying visage. It can drop you, and then its shriek, which recharges on a 5 or 6. Bumped its AC to 16 and jumped its health up to 120.
Yeah. Thankfully, the sharpshooter feat.
No, that was actually excellent. I'm glad you took into account the Battlemaster's versatility, because it certainly came to you guys' aid.
Yeah. I was saying earlier that if it started to fly, my aim was to try and use the trip, and I wasn't sure if you'd let me kind of use trip to bring it out the sky as well. But that would have been like one of my ideas.
No, I like the presentation of it, so I would probably let it fly.
Yeah.
But that is where we're going to end the broadcast. So thank you to anybody who tuned in the future, since we have no viewers right now, which is fine. I certainly had a lot of fun, so come check us out.